Americans don't just like rotisserie chicken, we depend on it. Every year, more than 900 million rotisserie chickens spin under grocery store heat lamps, sold as the ultimate shortcut dinner. No prep, no dishes, no thinking. Just grab the bird, swipe the card, and feed the family. It feels harmless, it feels smart. And that's exactly why this industry gets away with so much. Behind those glowing warmers is a $2.5 billion machine built on speed, salt, and silence. Most people assume rotisserie chicken is one of the safest things you can buy. It is just chicken, right? But while you're focusing on convenience, companies are quietly injecting birds with chemical solutions, loading them with sodium, cutting corners on animal welfare, and betting you'll never check the label or ask questions. Some of these chickens are so salty they qualify as sodium bombs. Others are rushed through cooking so fast they border on unsafe, and a few are praised as cheap and amazing, while hiding ingredient lists that read more like lab formulas than food. Today, we're ranking 10 of America's most popular rotisserie chickens, from worst to best. We'll expose the disasters you should never buy, the overrated fan favorites, and the few rare birds that actually deserve your money. One entry in the middle of this list is going to seriously shock you. And by the end, you'll never look at a rotisserie chicken the same way again. Number 10. Walmart, the sodium bomb disaster. Walmart's rotisserie chicken earns the bottom spot because it represents everything wrong with mass-produced convenience food disguised as value. With over 4,700 locations, Walmart sells more rotisserie chickens than almost anyone in America, which also means they sell more bad chicken to more people than anyone else. The first red flag is the sodium load. One serving packs roughly 500 to 600 milligrams of sodium, nearly a quarter of your daily limit in just a few bites. This isn't seasoning, it's saturation. Walmart doesn't roast chicken the traditional way. They inject it with a solution designed to increase weight, extend shelf life, and mask low-quality meat. That solution includes water, sea salt, carrageenan, sodium phosphate, dehydrated lemon peel, and flavoring agents that have no business inside a simple roasted bird. The result is wildly inconsistent texture. Some customers report chicken that's slimy and rubbery, others complain it's bone-dry and stringy, often within the same batch. Online reviews are full of warnings describing birds that taste like salt water, have an artificial mouthfeel, or fall apart in a way that screams processed, not roasted. There are even repeated reports of giblets left inside fully cooked chickens, which points to rushed, careless processing. Flavor-wise, the heavy-handed dried herbs overpower any natural chicken taste, creating something closer to potpourri-flavored poultry than comfort food. Walmart banks on the 5 price tag to distract you from the reality that you're repaying for water weight and chemicals, not quality protein. At the end of the day, Walmart's rotisserie chicken isn't cheap. It's deceptive. It's a factory-farmed bird pumped full of sodium and additives, sold to price-conscious families who deserve better. That's why it sits firmly at number 10, and why it's a chicken you're better off leaving under the heat lamp. Number 9. Safeway, the undercooked nightmare. Safeway's rotisserie chicken lands at number 9, not because it's the saltiest or the most chemically altered, but because it flirts with something far worse, food safety. Safeway positions itself as a trusted regional grocery chain, and that reputation makes the problems here even more concerning. On paper, the chicken doesn't look terrible. The sodium level, at roughly 250 milligrams per serving, is actually lower than many competitors. But sodium doesn't matter when customers are repeatedly reporting pink, bloody meat inside birds that are supposed to be fully cooked. Multiple reviews describe cutting into a rotisserie chicken only to find undercooked flesh near the bone. A genuine health risk, not just a quality issue. Then there are the texture problems. Depending on the store and the day, Safeway's chicken can be gummy, soggy, or oddly dry, often all at once. Some customers have even reported finding cooked feathers still attached to the wings, a sign of rushed processing and poor quality control. When a company can't consistently remove feathers or fully cook poultry, that's not bad luck. It's systemic negligence. The ingredient list includes familiar industrial additives like sodium phosphate and carrageenan, used to retain moisture and extend shelf life. Instead of juiciness, they create an artificial, processed texture that feels more like deli meat than roasted chicken. And at $6 to $7 per bird, Safeway charges more than Walmart while delivering a product that's arguably more dangerous. What's most damning is the customer consensus. Shoppers regularly warn others to avoid Safeway rotisserie chicken entirely, not because it tastes bland, but because they don't trust it to be safe. When consumers are treating dinner like Russian roulette, the verdict is clear. Safeway's rotisserie chicken isn't just disappointing, it's unreliable. And that unreliability is why it earns the number 9 spot on this list. Number 8. Boston Market, The Walking Dead. Boston Market's rotisserie chicken comes in at number 8, not because it's the absolute worst on the shelf, but because it represents one of the most dramatic quality collapses in modern food retail. This was once the gold standard, a chain built entirely around rotisserie chicken, comfort sides, and the promise of home-style meals. Today, what remains is a zombie brand, surviving on nostalgia while everything underneath quietly rots. Since being sold to new ownership, Boston Market has been drowning in financial and operational chaos. Reports of unpaid vendors, lawsuits over missing wages, and employees going weeks without pay have become disturbingly common. When a company can't pay its workers or suppliers, food quality is never far behind. Former employees and customers describe dirty kitchens, uncovered food, and neglected equipment that would make any health inspector nervous. The chicken itself reflects this decay. Nutritionally, it's another sodium-heavy product with roughly 580 milligrams per serving, close to a quarter of your daily limit. The ingredient list reveals a solution-injected bird, pumped with water, sugar, maltodextrin, and carrageenan to inflate weight and compensate for declining meat quality. You're not paying for better chicken, you're paying for filler. Even more troubling are allegations that some locations have resold rotisserie chickens purchased from Walmart or Sam A.S. Club, passing them off as Boston Market's own, while still marketing hormone-free or higher-quality claims. Whether every location does this or not, the fact that the accusation exists at all speaks volumes. Boston Market leans heavily on the memory of what it used to be, hoping customers won't notice that the food no longer matches the brand promise. But nostalgia doesn't make chicken safer, cleaner, or better tasting. At number 8, Boston Market isn't just a disappointment, it's a warning. A reminder that even once trusted names can become hollow shells, spinning mediocre chicken under the glow of a reputation they no longer deserve. Number 7. Costco, the beloved chemical bath. Costco's rotisserie chicken lands at number 7, and this is where the list gets controversial. Millions of shoppers swear by it. At $4.99 for a massive 3-pound bird, unchanged in price for years, it feels unbeatable. Costco sells over 100 million rotisserie chickens annually, and that popularity alone has convinced many people it must be good. But popularity doesn't equal quality. And in this case, it actively hides serious problems. Start with the ingredient list. What should be chicken, salt, and maybe a few spices turns into an 11-ingredient formula. Chicken, water, salt, sodium phosphate, modified cornstarch, sugar, dextrose, isolated soy protein, and other processing agents. This bird isn't simply roasted, it's chemically engineered to retain moisture, increase weight, and stay juicy under heat lamps for hours. The sodium is the next red flag. One 3-ounce serving contains around 460 milligrams of sodium, nearly 20% of the recommended daily maximum before you've added sides. Consumer advocacy groups have specifically warned about this level of sodium, especially for families who eat rotisserie chicken regularly and assume it's a healthy option. Taste complaints are surprisingly common once people look past the price. Some customers report a strange smell, others describe a dirty dishwater or overly processed flavor that overwhelms the natural taste of chicken. That artificial mouthfeel comes from the same additives meant to improve texture. Then there's the ethical side. Investigations and lawsuits have raised concerns about factory-farmed chickens bred to grow so large they can barely stand, with footage showing injured and deformed birds in overcrowded facilities. Costco's low price depends on this system, and the savings come at a cost that isn't listed on the label. Costco's rotisserie chicken isn't the worst, but it's far from clean or ethical. It earns number 7 because it proves how cheap pricing and brand loyalty can distract consumers from what they're really buying. a heavily processed bird dressed up as a bargain. Number 6. BJ's Wholesale. The adequate alternative BJ's Wholesale Club takes the number 6 spot by doing something surprisingly rare in the rotisserie chicken world, not making things worse than they need to be. With more than 200 locations across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, BJ's doesn't dominate headlines or social media debates the way Costco does, but that quiet presence works in its favor. BJ's rotisserie chicken is typically sourced from Purdue, a supplier that, while still operating at industrial scale, maintains more consistent standards than many generic poultry processors. The ingredient profile is noticeably cleaner than Costco's, and the sodium levels, usually ranging from 170 to 250 milligrams per serving, are dramatically lower than the warehouse club norm. That alone makes it easier to eat without unknowingly blowing through a huge chunk of your daily sodium intake. Customer reviews reflect this restraint. With thousands of ratings, BJ's chicken is frequently described as reliably moist, decently seasoned, and fairly consistent from visit to visit. No overwhelming chemical taste, no rubbery texture, and none of the strange odors that plague more aggressively processed birds. It's not life-changing chicken, but it also doesn't feel like a science experiment. That said, this is still warehouse club rotisserie chicken. The birds are mass-produced, not organic, and they do contain processed ingredients designed to maintain moisture under heat lamps. BJ's isn't reinventing the category. They're just avoiding the extremes that have ruined competitors. What BJ's proves is that you don't need an 11-ingredient injection solution or extreme loss leader pricing to satisfy customers. You can offer a reasonably priced, reasonably clean product and still earn loyalty. At number 6, BJ's Wholesale earns its place as the safe middle ground. Not the best rotisserie chicken in America, but a solid reminder that adequate can still be a win in a category filled with disasters. Number 5, Wegmans, the regional premium. Wegmans earns the number 5 spot by proving that rotisserie chicken can feel premium without feeling gimmicky. With just over 100 stores concentrated in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, Wegmans doesn't chase national dominance. It focuses on loyalty, quality perception, and doing the basics right. And in the rotisserie chicken aisle, that approach shows. Customers consistently describe Wegmans' rotisserie chicken as tender, evenly cooked, and reliably flavorful. Unlike many mass-market competitors, Wegmans avoids aggressive injection techniques. Seasoning is applied externally, not pumped into the meat, which means the chicken actually tastes like chicken. If you want to reduce sodium, you can remove the skin and immediately cut back, something that's nearly impossible with injected birds. Pricing reflects that philosophy. The standard rotisserie chicken usually sits around $9.99, while organic options climb higher. That's a noticeable jump from warehouse clubs, but Wegmans justifies it with better texture, cleaner flavor, and consistency. You're not gambling on whether tonight's bird will be slimy, dry, or oddly mushy. It's dependable. Sodium levels are also more reasonable than most competitors, especially compared to Costco or Walmart. Wegmans proves that strong flavor doesn't require chemical enhancement. It requires patience, proper cooking, and decent meat to begin with. Their herb-forward options, like rosemary, enhance the natural flavor instead of masking flaws. The trade-off is accessibility. Wegmans isn't everywhere, and the price puts it out of reach for some shoppers looking for a cheap weekly dinner. It's also not the cleanest label on this list. That distinction comes later. At number 5, Wegmans represents the upper middle tier of rotisserie chicken. Not revolutionary, not cheap, but carefully executed. For shoppers in Wegmans territory who value consistency and flavor over rock-bottom pricing, this is where rotisserie chicken starts to feel genuinely satisfying. Number 4, Kroger Simple Truth, the clean label champion. Kroger's Simple Truth rotisserie chicken claims the number 4 spot by doing something almost unheard of in this category, keeping the ingredient list honest. In an aisle dominated by injection solutions, chemical stabilizers, and marketing smokescreens, Simple Truth stands out for its radical simplicity. Flip the label over and you'll see it immediately. Chicken, water, sea salt. That's it. No sodium phosphate, no carrageenan, no modified starches, no mystery additives designed to fake juiciness or inflate weight. Just seasoned chicken, Prepared the way rotisserie chicken used to be before convenience food became a chemistry contest. The sodium numbers back that up. At roughly 40 milligrams per 3-ounce serving, Simple Truth contains 11 times less sodium than Costco's rotisserie chicken. That single fact alone reshapes the entire conversation around healthy grocery store chicken. You can eat this bird without unknowingly consuming a quarter of your daily sodium allowance in one sitting. Kroger also checks important ethical boxes. These chickens are raised without antibiotics, fed a 100% vegetarian diet, and produced under cage-free standards. While not certified organic, they are raised under noticeably better conditions than conventional factory-farmed alternatives, addressing both health and animal welfare concerns without pushing the price into luxury territory. Flavor and texture benefit from this cleaner approach. The meat tastes natural, not processed. It's tender without being slimy, juicy without the artificial bounce that injected birds have. What you're tasting is poultry, not a moisture retention strategy. At around $5 to $6 per bird, Simple Truth proves that clean label food doesn't have to be expensive. It also proves that natural doesn't have to be an empty marketing word when companies actually commit to transparency. That's why Kroger Simple Truth earns number 4, a rare example of affordability, health, and honesty aligning in the rotisserie chicken aisle. Number 3, Whole Foods, the ethical standard bearer. Whole Foods takes the number 3 spot by setting a bar that most grocery chains don't even attempt to reach. While other retailers focus on price, speed, or volume, Whole Foods builds its rotisserie chicken program around animal welfare, ingredient transparency, and traditional preparation. And it shows in both taste and trust. These chickens come from farms that meet strict animal welfare standards, including access to outdoors, shade, shelter, and natural light. Unlike conventional factory farming, the birds are allowed to behave like chickens, not biological machines engineered for maximum growth. Whole Foods' animal welfare rating system ensures a minimum standard across suppliers, with many exceeding those requirements. The ingredient list is refreshingly short. The organic plain rotisserie chicken contains only chicken, salt, and organic black pepper. No injection solutions, no preservatives, no chemical stabilizers. Seasoning is applied only to the skin, not forced into the meat, giving customers real control over sodium intake. Remove the skin, and you dramatically reduce salt, something impossible with injected birds. Sodium levels remain reasonable, hovering around 70 milligrams per serving for organic options. That's proof that flavor doesn't require sodium overload when the underlying meat quality is high. Customer reviews frequently describe the taste as old-fashioned, oven-roasted, and comforting, often comparing it to home-cooked chicken rather than grocery store convenience food. Price is the obvious downside. At roughly $7.99 for conventional and $10.99 for organic. Whole Foods rotisserie chicken costs more than most competitors. But unlike many premium brands, Whole Foods actually delivers on its promises. You're paying for higher welfare standards, cleaner ingredients, and a product that aligns with the values the brand advertises. At number 3, Whole Foods proves that ethical rotisserie chicken is possible at scale. It may not be the cheapest bird on the shelf, but it's one of the few you can buy without wondering what corners were cut to get it there. Number 2, Sam's Club, the taste test giant killer. Sam's Club earns the number 2 spot by pulling off one of the biggest surprises in the rotisserie chicken world, beating premium grocery chains on pure taste. For years, warehouse clubs have been associated with cheap, over-processed birds designed to sell volume, not flavor. Sam's Club quietly broke that mold, and food critics noticed. In multiple independent taste tests, including a widely cited 2025 ranking, Sam's Club's rotisserie chicken finished ahead of Costco, Wegmans, Whole Foods, and several regional grocers. That result shocked a lot of people, especially loyal Costco shoppers who assumed nothing could touch the $4.99 staple. But the difference becomes clear once you look at how Sam's Club approaches seasoning. Instead of injecting the meat with a chemical solution, Sam's uses an external spice rub, anchored by paprika and earthy seasonings that crisp the skin while letting the interior stay juicy. The flavor feels developed, not artificial. The chicken tastes roasted, not processed. That single choice, seasoning technique over chemical enhancement, changes everything. Size is another major advantage. Sam's Club birds are often over 3 pounds, noticeably larger than many competitors. One chicken can easily stretch into multiple meals, making the $4.98 price tag one of the best value propositions in the entire ranking. Customer reviews reflect that value, with tens of thousands of ratings averaging around 4.7 out of 5, packed with comments from former Costco loyalists admitting the switch. There is a downside, and it's sodium. At roughly 550 milligrams per serving, Sam's Club chicken pushes close to a quarter of the recommended daily limit. This isn't the healthiest option on the list, but it's honest about what it is, a flavor-first bird. At number 2, Sam's Club proves that warehouse clubs have to rely on chemical shortcuts to win. When taste is the priority, Sam's doesn't just compete, it dominates. Number 1. Heinen's, the Amish farm masterpiece. Heinen S takes the number 1 spot because it delivers what almost every other rotisserie chicken on this list only pretends to offer. Real chicken, raised well, cooked properly, and sold honestly. Operating primarily in Ohio and parts of the Midwest, Heinen's partners with Gerber's Amish farm, and that single decision changes everything about the final product. These chickens are pasture-raised and free-roaming, fed a vegetarian, additive-free diet, and raised without antibiotics or hormones. They live like chickens are supposed to live, outdoors, moving naturally and growing at a normal pace. That lifestyle directly translates into better texture, stronger natural flavor, and meat that doesn't need chemical help to taste good. The ingredient list reflects that confidence. There's no injection solution, no preservatives, and no corporate chemistry experiment hiding behind marketing language. Seasoning is minimal and salt-based, allowing the quality of the meat to do the heavy lifting. The sodium content is naturally lower than mass-market alternatives, because it isn't tea being forced into the muscle fibers. Taste is where Heinen's truly separates itself. Customers consistently describe the chicken as rich, clean, and deeply savory, the kind of flavor that reminds people what rotisserie chicken used to taste like before industrial shortcuts took over. The texture is firm but juicy, not mushy or rubbery. Even the presentation feels different. Wings tucked, legs tied, evenly browned, like something you'd expect from a restaurant, not a grocery store heat lamp. At $8.99 to $9.99, Heinen's isn't cheap, but unlike most premium-priced rotisserie chickens, the quality here is visible, provable, and repeatable. You're paying for humane farming, careful preparation, and consistency that industrial chains simply can't match. Heinen S earns the top spot because it proves something important. Exceptional rotisserie chicken is still possible, not through scale, shortcuts, or sodium, but through respect for the animal, the food, and the customer. The rotisserie chicken aisle isn't just a convenience section anymore, it's a battleground. On one side are massive corporations chasing volume, cutting corners, and selling sodium-loaded, chemically altered birds that barely resemble real food. On the other side are a much smaller group of companies proving that rotisserie chicken can still be honest, safe, and worth eating. What this ranking makes clear is that cheap doesn't mean affordable. When a $5 chicken is pumped full of salt, water, and additives, the real cost shows up later. In your health, in animal welfare, and in food quality that keeps getting worse. The biggest brands rely on habit and loyalty, betting that you will grab the same bird every week without ever checking what's inside it. But every rotisserie chicken you buy is a vote. A vote for how animals are raised. A vote for whether food companies prioritize transparency or deception. And a vote for whether convenience continues to justify cutting corners. If you care about flavor, health, or ethics, even just a little, the difference between the bottom and the top of this list matters. Choose the chickens made with cleaner ingredients, humane practices, and real cooking instead of chemical shortcuts. If this breakdown helped you see the rotisserie aisle differently, hit subscribe for more honest food rankings and drop a comment sharing the worst rotisserie chicken disaster you've ever had. Once you know what's really spinning behind those heat lamps, it's hard to unsee it.